I know you know the saying, and this time around, March is heading out like a lion. What's going on, guys? Certified meteorologist Jonathan Kagas back with you. In this video, we're going to talk about two storms that are making March go out like a lion. The first one going to be on the East Coast, cold front slicing through, but then a coastal system is going to ride up through the Carolinas and then especially into the Northeast and Southeast Canada. We're going to have the rainfall amounts both in inches and millimeters for my Canadian friends as well. Then we're going to head to the West Coast. As that system exits, we are going to have another system rolling down the west coast of the U.S., blasting the Sierras with more snow. This will also eject back to the northern plains and upper Midwest, giving us even more snow in places that just had that bigger snowstorm just a few days ago. Then we're going to break down the temperatures over the U.S. and Canada as well over the next 72 hours. There's going to be some more cold as we venture into April. Before we break all this down, if you want to stay updated on the rest of winter, although we're officially into spring, hit that subscribe button. We're also going to be tracking the severe weather potential as we roll through spring, and of course hurricane season starts on June 1st, right around the corner. We have you guys covered from a very science and meteorological perspective. If you like that stuff, hit that subscribe button again. I'd love to know what the weather is doing where you're tuning in from. Post that in the comments section. Don't forget your location. All right, let's get to it now. Here is our area of low pressure. This is going to be Thursday, 2 o'clock. This is going to be on March 28th. There it is right there. You see the closed isobar, these lines of equal pressure right there. That shows us, again, we have an area of low pressure developing. Now we have more isobars popping back up. Terrible at tracing these lines. But those lines of equal pressure, when you get more of them together, tightly packed, that's an indication, again, that we are watching that storm strengthen. Don't think it's going to be a huge storm by any means, but it is going to bring some wind and some rain. It's certainly going to have its strongest potential as it gets closer to Maine, into New Brunswick, into Halifax, into parts, into Nova Scotia, Halifax included in that, and then into parts of Newfoundland as well. You see the green there representing the rain, more of those isobars as well, those lines of equal pressure, and then enough cold air, at least on the backside, for some snow to try to sneak in parts of Maine, northeast Maine, and then into Newfoundland or into New Brunswick as well. Then we have the opportunity for a weaker secondary system to bring us rain as we get into the second part of the upcoming weekend. That one's going to be much, much weaker, but again, you see some snow popping back up there, especially in upstate New York, maybe into parts of Massachusetts as well as that system slides through. Then the bigger system on the West Coast gets going. We're going to take a look at that in just 1 second. In terms of the amount of rain expected, this is going to tightly hug the East Coast of the U.S. So that rain coming in here toward Pittsburgh, Erie, Toronto, that's from that second system. The heaviest stuff here is from the bigger coastal system that gets going. Again, 1 to 3 inches in places like New Bedford. Boston, we could get a couple of inches. I do think, though, the inch potential there, the heaviest rain is going to be a little bit closer toward Cape Cod, toward the coastal areas of Massachusetts there, but still the potential for a couple of inches of rain in Boston. Portland, we're going to be in on that, but the heaviest rain, Presque Isle, and then certainly into New Brunswick, into Nova Scotia, and then closing out through Newfoundland as well, and that's going to be through the weekend. You see that's through March 31st, just about as we get into April 1st. Second system on the back end of this is going to be a big system sliding down the west coast of the U.S. You see that big L right there. Watch the spin as I put that into motion. You see the L there spiraling, or at least that spiral shape there. That's where our area of low pressure sits. That's also bringing in a ton of Pacific moisture. It's one of those atmospheric rivers that we call it there. It's just a very narrow ribbon of very moist, a lot of people hate that word, sorry, blasting the California coastline. And as it runs into the mountains, you see the blue popping up. That moisture lifts, it cools, condenses, and it's cold enough for that to fall as snow in the Sierra. So another very powerful snowstorm, certainly not as intense as the big blizzard we had a couple of weeks ago that dropped several feet, 6, 7, 8 feet of snow, but there is going to be a couple of feet falling. And then you see that system eventually work its way out of the plains and then give us some snow into parts of the UP of Michigan, into Wisconsin, and then into central and northern Minnesota. Again, this system is not going to be as big as that system we saw late last weekend into earlier this week, but nonetheless, we ventured into spring, and I know it's certainly possible and likely that we continue the snow into spring in the upper Midwest and northern plains, but go figure, when a lot of people want the snow, January, February, we we're hosed. Hardly had any, and now we get a couple of bigger snowstorms out of the deal. Where feet of snow could fall in the Sierra Nevadas, Mammoth Lake, 16 inches. I think we're going to go above that, especially in the higher elevations there of the Sierras. I think 2 to 3 feet of snow are coming our way. Aspen getting 7 to 10 inches of snow as well, and then this runs through early Monday morning, so this does not go all the way out for the snow event, but I do think in the Arrowhead of Minnesota, back into central Minnesota, closer to Minneapolis, that's where we're going to see several inches of snow. It's going to be a quick hitting snowstorm. It's not going to be as intense as the last one, but nonetheless, we're going to have an update on that storm again as we get a little bit closer with snow numbers for you. Of course, we know the fluctuations of the snowfall forecast. I want to wait till we get a little bit closer again, as it is Wednesday, March 27th. That's going to be coming as we get into the weekend. In terms of the rain, we're going to be watching for that flood potential along the California coastline. So, again, this could make headlines again for potentially bringing that flood threat again. 2 to 4 inches of rain coming at us in L.A. and Santa Maria, about 1 to 3 inches. A little bit lighter amounts, but still some very heavy rain into Eureka, into San Francisco. Look at that. Newport into Oregon picking up 1 to 3 inches of rain. And then that heavy rain continuing for us as we move into parts of Washington, even British Columbia into Canada. So, again, just keep that in mind that we could have that flood threat rolling, again, right on into the upcoming weekend. In terms of the temperature, here we go. This is going to be on March 28th. This is Thursday morning, and you see where this nice batch of colder air is, again, waking up in the teens and potentially single digits in parts of Minnesota. You see that colder air kind of retreat a little bit. This is going to be Tuesday afternoon. The warmth is certainly hanging on into the deep south, into the southern plains. You see that colder air, though, lurking right up into central Canada. Watch what happens as we move into Friday. That starts to retreat just a little bit more as we get the 60s and 70s towards Kansas City and St. Louis, middle 70s, continuing into parts of South Texas as well. The core of that cold air by March 29th, March 30th, it's still hanging out up into Canada. There were indications, though, by the first week of April. We're going to have much more on tomorrow's video on that longer range outlook there, that we could be talking about more cold coming for the Hudson Bay region into the eastern 2/3 of the United States, as well as winter going to try to hang on, as it barely showed up when it was supposed to be there. So we're going to have much more on that. We're also going to have much more on the eclipse weather, of course. April 8th, we're getting very, very close to that. I know there's a lot out there on social media about that this path being covered in clouds. Well, there's certainly likely going to be some storm systems around. It is way, way too early to tell where there's going to be clouds at the exact point on the path just yet. So just don't panic. Don't freak out just yet. We're going to have you covered with a couple of different looks there, with a high-resolution look of those clouds overlaid on that 3D path of totality. So again, we got you covered right here. If you want to take a look at everything you can expect about the eclipse, you can head to the, just wait till the end of this video. It's going to pop up in that end screen as well, and you can take a look at that. Alrighty, guys. Post in the comments where you're tuning in from. If you found this video helpful, hit that thumbs up button for me. That really does help us out a lot. And again, if you want to join the team, would love to have you on board. Hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you next time.